Safety substantiation is clearly important. You've always needed to put safe products onto the US market, and that's still true today. The definition of what's required for safety substantiation, if I compare it with Europe, where it is fairly well defined about what you need to do, in the US, the regulation really essentially says, find a registered toxicologist with a good reputation, and then work with that toxicologist to provide all of the testing details, reviews, scientific papers, so that the toxicologist can come to a reasonable conclusion that the product is safe for the United States market. So safety substantiation is one of those areas which I would expect at some point the FDA will come out with a guideline giving a more detail on what's required. But for the moment, if you have tests, studies, the kind of information you would gather for the European market to make sure your product is safe, then that's the kind of information the FDA would expect to see for your products going onto the United States market. In fact, if you're formulating globally to meet the requirements of the European regulation, which is applicable around the world, then you will have a cosmetic product safety report, which really forms the basis of the kind of documentation you would submit to the FDA for the United States market to support your product on the US market. And I would expect over time, it will become better defined what document is or maybe isn't acceptable for the US market. And in Obelisk, we've got many years of experience of the European regulations. We can help you with the safety assessment you require to satisfy the needs of the FDA for the United States market. The important thing to remember about MoCRA is it's taking a number of years to roll out, and two of the areas which are still to come are fragrance allergens and good manufacturing practices. Good manufacturing practices for cosmetics. Now, the FDA does have draft guidelines today, and they were last updated in 2013. The legislation empowered the FDA to issue a draft guidance, good manufacturing practice, and then to finalize that a year later. Will they follow international norms? Will they follow the ISO 22716, which is widely used in the cosmetics market? We don't know. In the past, they have developed their own GMP guidelines. For drugs, they have their own GMP guidelines. So at this stage, all we can say is it's a question. What will they put into their good manufacturing practices? GMPs are generally very common. Just keeping control of the ingredients, keeping control of the manufacturing process, ensuring that all of the batches of product are exactly as you intended them to be and are safe and effective when you place on the market, and consistent. So the basic GMPs will be standard type GMPs. The details we shall see. And once they've established those GMPs, then the FDA obviously has the right, have been given the right through legislation to come onto sites and inspect those sites wherever they are in the world against the standards of good manufacturing practices. The regulation empowered the FDA to list fragrance allergens, so those components of a fragrance which may lead to an allergic reaction. Europe has a list already. Will the FDA adopt the same list? We don't know at this stage. Certainly in the regulation, the FDA were told to look at other international regulations, international norms in issuing their list. But at this stage today, we're still waiting to see what the FDA will list. Once the list comes out, if you have one of those ingredients in your formula, then you must declare that on the label. So how can Obelisk help you in these areas? So first of all, we are members of the two main industry associations in the US, so we keep up to date with all of the requirements. So we can advise you what the requirements are, and then how to comply with them once they are known.